Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So continuing with the Koran Interpreted by A.J. Arberry. The next to look at is 104 through 165 of cattle. Clear proofs have come to you from your Lord. Whoso sees clearly, it is to his own gain, and whoso is blind, it is to his own loss. I am not a watcher over you. So we turn about the signs that they may say thou hast studied, and that we may make it clear to a people having knowledge. Follow thou what has been revealed to thee from thy Lord. There is no God but he, and turn thou away from the idolaters. Had God willed, they were not idolaters, and we have not appointed thee a watcher over them, neither art thou their guardian. Abuse not those to whom they pray apart from God, or they will abuse God in revenge without knowledge. Well, don't blaspheme others, or they may blaspheme in return is a better way to say. So we have decked out fair to every nation their deeds, then to their Lord they shall return, and he will tell them what they have been doing. When they have sworn by God the most earnest oaths, if a sign comes to them, they will believe in it. Say, signs are only with God. What will make you realize when it comes? They will not believe. We shall turn about their hearts and their eyes, even as they believed not in it the first time, and we shall leave them blindly in their insolence, wandering blindly, though we had sent down the angels to them, and the dead had spoken with them. Had we mustered against them everything face to face, yet they would not have been the ones to believe unless God willed, but most of them are ignorant. No, people get the signs that they need in life to be guided. Anything extra may be what they want, but it wouldn't have made a difference. Ignorant. So we have appointed to every prophet an enemy, Satans of men and jinn, revealing tawdry speech to each other, all as a delusion. Yet had thy Lord willed, they would never have done it. So leave them to their forging, and that the hearts of those who believe not in the world to come may incline to it, and that they may be well pleased with it, and that they may gain what they are gaining. What shall I seek after any judge but God? For it is he who sent down to you the book, well distinguished, and those who we have given the book know that it is sent down from thy Lord with the truth. So be not thou of the doubters. Perfect are the words of thy Lord in truthfulness and justice. No man can change his words. He is the all-hearing, the all-knowing. If thou obeyest the most part of those on the earth, They will lead thee astray from the path of God. They follow only surmise, merely conjecturing. Thy Lord knows very well who goes astray from his path. He knows very well the right guided. Eat of that over which God's name has been mentioned. If you believe in his signs, how is it with you that you do not eat of that over which God's name has been mentioned, seeing that he has distinguished for you, and that he has forbidden you, unless you are constrained to it? But surely many lead astray by their caprices, without any knowledge. Thy Lord knows very well the transgressors forsake the outward sin and the inward. Surely the earners of sin shall be recompensed for what they have earned, and eat not of that over which God's name has not been mentioned. It is ungodliness. The Satans inspire their friends to dispute with you. If you obey them, you are idolaters. Misassociators, I'm sure, is the proper translation. Why is he who was dead, and we gave him life, and appointed for him a light to walk by among the shadows, as one whose likeness is in the shadows, and comes not forth from them? And so in a chapter entitled The Cattle, we have the higher station of here's things not to do, but the higher station is the spiritual eating, and that's all you eat. I mean, all your eating is religious, is spiritual. But in the modern sense, instead of the inward and outward, we have the mesocortical and the mesolimbic. The cortical is the impulse control, and the limbic is the the reward system, so the motivation. So deal with your motivation towards sin, and deal with your impulse towards sin, obviously. So it is decked out fair to the unbelievers the things they have done, and even so we appointed in every city great ones among its sinners to devise there, but they devised only against themselves, and they were not aware. And when a sign came to them, they said, we will not believe until we are given the like of what God's messengers were given. God knows very well where to place his message, and humiliation in God's sight shall befall the sinners, and a terrible chastisement for what they devised. Whomsoever God desires to guide, he expands his breast to Islam. Whomsoever he desires to lead astray, he makes his breast narrow, tight, as if he were climbing to heaven. So God lays abomination upon those who believe not. And there were some analogies that, well, how can somebody who never went up really high peaks have came up with this? Or the thing about the ocean, who's never tried to dive into the ocean. And so God lays abomination upon those who believe not. Well, because they've chosen it. This is the path of thy Lord, straight. We have distinguished the signs to a people who remember. Theirs is the abode of peace with their Lord, and he is their protector for what they were doing. On the day when he shall muster them all together, company of jinn. You have made much of mankind. Then their friends among mankind will say, our Lord, we have profited each of the other, and we have reached the term determined for thee for us. He will say, the fire is your lodging, therein to dwell forever. Except as God will. Surely thy Lord is all wise, all-knowing. So we make the evildoers friends of each other for what they have earned. Company of jinn and mankind, did not messengers come to you from among you, relating to you my signs, and warning you of the encounter of this your day? And they shall say, we bear witness against ourselves, and they were deluded by the present life, and they bear witness against themselves that they were unbelievers. And remember, if we turn to Surah 55, we have jinn, we have Allah Rabbika Mutakadiban 31 times, which happens to be the number of verses in Quran that mention jinn. And here is one of the examples of, again, jinn and men being addressed together. By signs and warning you of the encounter of this your day, they shall say, we bear witness against ourselves. They were deluded by the present life, and they bear witness against themselves that they were unbelievers. That is because thy Lord would never destroy the cities unjustly while their inhabitants were heedless. All have degrees according to what they have done. Thy Lord is not heedless of the things they do. Thy Lord is all-sufficient, merciful. If he will, he can put you away and leave after you to succeed you what he will, as he produced you from the seed of another people. The thing you are promised that will surely come, you cannot frustrate it. Say, O my people, act according to your situation. I am acting, and assuredly you will know who shall possess the abode ultimate. Surely the evildoers will not prosper. They appoint to God of the tillage and cattle that he multiplied a portion, saying, this is for God. So they assert, and this is for our associates. So what is for their associates reaches not God, and what is for God reaches their associates. Evil is their judgment. Thus those associates of theirs have decked out fair to many idolaters, to slay their children, to destroy them, and confuse their religion for them. Hadn't God willed, they would not have done so. So leave them to their forging. They say, these are cattle and tillage sacrosanct. None shall eat them but whom we will. So they assert, and cattle on whose backs have been forbidden, and cattle over which they mention not the name of God. And the misassociation can be atheism. And rather than, we're taught not to fear the sharing of our resources with children. That is one of the key motivations behind abortion. And there are human sacrifices performed to this day, probably less common than there used to be. And in history, we see mention of it, and it's not just as an insult to justify war. These people are just horrible. We can go over there and conquer them, right? There was some of that, but apparently people internally wrote that certain things went on. And my ancestors performed human sacrifice. You may have heard the lottery story, but there was a burnt mark on an oat cake, and anyways, that's for another time. All that they say, forging against God, he will surely recompense them for what they were forging. And they say, what is within the bellies of these cattle is reserved for our males and forbidden to our spouses. But if it be dead, then they all shall be partners in it. He will assuredly recompense them for their describing. Surely he is all-wise, all-knowing. Losers are they who slay their children in folly without knowledge, and have forbidden what God has provided them. Forging against God, they have gone astray and are not right guided. You can also say people who pressure their children to go off to war when it's not a just war. It is he who produces gardens, trellised and untrellised, palm trees and crops diverse in produce, olives, pomegranates, like each to each, and each unlike to each. Eat of the fruits when they fructify, and pay the due thereof on the day of its harvest, and be not prodigal. God loves not the prodigal. And of the cattle for burthen and for slaughter, eat of what God has provided you, and follow not the steps of Satan. He is a manifest foe to you. Verse 144 earlier there. It makes sense that the verse of love by and for God, that God loves not a particular type of trait. That, center around food, just like we saw a handful of verses back about people think, hey, we'll eat these animals and these other animals. So another way of this chapter being a pair with number 5. 8 couples, 2 of sheep, of goats 2. Say, is it the 2 males he is forbidden, or the 2 females, or what the wombs of the 2 females contain? Tell me with knowledge if you speak truly. Of camels 2, of oxen 2. Say, is it the 2 males he is forbidden, or the 2 females, or what the wombs of the 2 females contain? Or were you witnesses when God charged you with this? Then who does greater evil than he who forges against God a lie, in order that he may lead mankind astray without any knowledge? Surely God guides not the people of the evildoers. Say, I do not find in what has been revealed to me aught forbidden to him who eats thereof, except it be carrion, or blood outpoured, or the flesh of swine. That is an abomination, or an ungodly thing that has been hallowed to other than God. Yet whoso is constrained, not desiring nor transgressing, surely thy Lord is all forgiving, all compassionate. Remember that the swine, the khanzir, extends more than the swine, the meat-eating land animals, the birds of prey, the dogs and the other scavengers, and claws and talons and fangs and all that. This way of only worshiping God, of course, as you see, the Malaka and the Jinn, and we're not denying the existence of these other things, and that these things may interact with each other, or any such thing. We're just focusing our worship, doing the things in the name of God and all this other God. Yet whoso is constrained, not desiring nor transgressing, surely thy Lord is all forgiving, all compassionate. And to those of Jewry we have forbidden every beast with claws, and of oxen and sheep we have forbidden them the fat of them, save what their backs carry, or their entrails, or what is mingled with the bone, that we recompense them for their insolence. Surely we speak truly. Well, there's particular claws and stuff but the meat-eating animals being forbidden is what I was saying, but the kosherat laws and the kosher laws, well, not the kosher laws, I'm not promoting that, the kosherat laws in their original contained more things. Every beast with claws, and of oxen and of sheep we have forbidden them the fat of them, save what their backs carry, or their entrails, the mutton and all that. We are what is mingled with the bone. Oh, mingled with the bone is the mutton. That we recompense them for their insolence. Surely we speak truly. So if they cry thee lies, say, your Lord is of mercy all embracing, and his might will never be turned back from the people of the sinners. Thy idolaters will say, I think misassociators, it's not all idolaters, Had God willed, we would not have been idolaters, neither our fathers, nor would we have forbidden aught. Even so the people before them cried lies until they tasted our might. Say, have you any knowledge for you to bring forth for us? You follow only surmise, merely conjecturing. Say, to God belongs the argument conclusive, for had he willed, he would have guided you all. Say, produce your witnesses, those who testify God has forbidden this. Then if they testify, bear not witness with them, and do not thou follow the caprices of those who cried lies to our signs, and who believe not in the world to come, and ascribe equals to their Lord. Whether it's the difference between Osherat and kosher, or some other difference between what their own scripture says to their conservative law. This is what's being warned about, that look at the fundamentals and see what the actual case is to our signs, and who believe not in the world to come, and ascribe equals to the Lord. Say, come, I will recite what your Lord has forbidden you, that you associate not anything with him, and be good to your parents, and not to slay your children because of poverty. We will provide you and them, and that you approach not any indecency, outward or inward, and that you slay not the soul God has forbidden except by right. That then he has charged you with, haply you will understand. And just like chapter 5, another way warning about the sanctity of life and protecting that. And the approach. People look at, these are major sins, we're not going to do these ones. But there's a way to these things that have minor sins along the way, and people look at that and go, well, I can do this and this, but I'm not going to do this, and eventually you do. And you don't know which door you open to a really bad thing, that the little bad, this particular little bad is the way, or lesser bad, or whatever. And that you approach not the property of the orphan, save in the fair manner until he is of age. Of course, he being she, female also. And fill up the measure and the balance with justice. We charge not any soul, save to its capacity. And when you speak, be just, even if it should be to a near kinsman, and fulfill God's covenant then he has charged you with, haply you will remember, and that this is my path straight, so do you follow it, and follow not the diverse paths, lest they scatter you from his path. That then he has charged you with, haply you will be God-fearing. Then we gave Moses the book, complete for him who does good, and distinguishing everything, and as a guidance and a mercy, haply they would believe in the encounter with their Lord. And this is a book we have set down, blessed, so follow it, and be God-fearing, haply you will find mercy, lest you should say, the book was sent down only upon 2 parties before us, and we have indeed been heedless of their study, or lest you say the book had been sent down upon us, we had surely been more rightly guided than they. Yet indeed a clear sign has come to you from your Lord, and a guidance and a mercy, and who does greater evil than he who cries lies to God's signs, and turns away from them? We shall surely recompense those who turn away from our signs with an evil chastisement for their turning away. What do they look for the angels to come to them? Nothing less, or that thy Lord should come, or that one of thy Lord's signs should come. On the day that one of thy Lord's signs comes, it shall not profit a soul to believe that never believed before, or earn some good in his belief. Say, watch and wait, we too are waiting. Those who have made divisions in their religion and become sects, thou art not of them in anything. Their affair is unto God. Then he will tell them what they have been doing. Whoso brings a good deed shall have 10 the like of it, and whoso brings an evil deed shall only be recompensed for the like of it, and they shall not be wronged. And this thing of the singles versus the multiplicity. Woe to those whose singles outweigh their multiplicity. This sort of theme is in many faiths. With the 10 was only recompense like it, they shall not be wronged. Say, as for me, my Lord has guided me to a straight path, a right religion. The creed of Abraham, a man of pure faith, he was no idolater. Say, my prayer, my ritual sacrifice, my living, my dying, all belongs to God, the Lord of all being. No associate has he, even so I have been commanded, and I am the first of those that surrender. Say, shall I seek after a Lord other than God, who is the Lord of all things? Every soul earns only to its own account. No soul laden bears the load of another. Then to your Lord shall you return. He will tell you of that whereon you are at variance. It is he who has appointed you viceroys in the earth, and has raised some of you in rank above others, that he may try you in what he has given you. Surely thy Lord is swift in retribution, and surely he is all forgiving, all compassionate, and reminding that we are here to do our own hero deeds, and we're only required to do what we're able. And as to what's been said about the two parties with the book, it's not saying there weren't other scriptures revealed, because you definitely see that implied. It is responding, it is saying that's what they will say. Because one of the objections that some of the Arabs who didn't believe Muhammad ibn Abdullah was a prophet said, hey, the Jews and the Christians, their couple scriptures, why can't, compilations, I guess, they didn't really know much about it, but, or at least they generally didn't, is that, it's, this sort of thing's only been done a couple times before, but they should even know better with what had made its way into Arabia. You had other scriptures, which surely contained portions of the messengers that it came to them.